Micah Parsons solves a lot of problems, but that doesn't mean he comes with no questions for the Green Bay Packers.
You are Locked On Packers, your daily Green Bay Packers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Packers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Peter Bukowski, and I cover the Packers for The Leap, a newsletter I would love for you to subscribe to. Follow me on Twitter, Peter_Bukowski. Follow the podcast on Twitter, Locked On Packers. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to the podcast to iTunes, Spotify, wherever you find podcasts, you will find Locked On Packers, the #1 Packers podcast on the internet, and the show for fans who know what happened, they want to know why and how, thanks to everyone who makes Locked On Packers their first listen every day. We hope you like starting your day with us as much as we like starting our day with you. Today's episode brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Bob Sturm from The Ticket in Dallas joins us on the show today to give us the Cowboys' perspective on the Micah Parsons trade, things that Packer fans may not know, what the expectations ought to be, how much Micah Parsons helps this Green Bay Packers team, and understanding that that comes with some level of risk. The Cowboys traded him in part because of some issues that the team had with him personality-wise, off the field-wise. There's a slew of things here. Before we get to that interview, Savion Williams, Barron Sorrell, and Zane Anderson returned to practice on Monday on Labor Day. Nate Hobbs came out and did some work on the side. He stretched. That's all good news. We also got information about the back injury that Micah Parsons is dealing with. My read on that is this is ass covering from the agent to say, look, hey, we promise he was really hurt. He didn't do any training camp or anything in Dallas, but we promise he was really actually definitely maybe kind of hurt. He has an injury. He had an MRI by the Cowboys. They said he could go. He went to get a second opinion. The Packers then traded for him, and then he passed a physical, all of which suggests he's good to go. My understanding of the treatment for this particular injury, which is not a disc injury in the back, which is important to understand. This is a ligament injury. There's not anything to be that concerned about, but I think, as we all expected, the prudent thing here, injury or not, is that Micah Parsons be on a snap count week 1, short turnaround into week 2, and then, maybe by week 3, you start to get the full go version of Micah Parsons. If you're the Packers, you hope to be at least 1-1, if not 2-0, despite the limited versions of Micah Parsons that you're getting. And if you can be 2-0, man, do you really set yourself up to be in a good position here moving forward. All right. I don't want to waste any more time because we had a nice long conversation with our pal Bob Sturm, who is a Dallas radio host, but is a Wisconsin sports fan. This is the perfect blend for what we're talking about here today. Let's talk to Bob. Joining me now, back again on Locked On Packers, Bob Sturm from The Ticket in Dallas. And Bob, man, there is so much to dig into. I know you guys have been doing it nonstop, wall to wall in Dallas. If I had asked you a year ago at this time how Cowboys fans felt about Micah Parsons, what would the answer be?
Adored. Generational, buy the jersey. This is our guy. It's been a rough 12 months in the city with Micah and Luka Doncic, and feeling like you have a guy who's 25 and will be yours forever, and then by the time he's 26, he's gone, and in both cases traded to like the hated rival. And I mean, there's a lot of sick similarities to this that have produced a lot of Instagram videos of kids crying. It's a weird thing in our sport where we have these relationships with athletes, and up there I definitely realized that Aaron Rodgers was once that guy, and Giannis is that guy, and there's just so many cases of we don't realize what these guys mean to us, and then then they get yanked away, and everybody's like, "What
Right.
the heck?" Now, sometimes there's then the quick turn on them, and there is a element of, well, he wasn't that great, or we were getting killed with him. So, it's all affairs of the heart. And it sucks, and I can't imagine Robin Yount being torn from me as a young lad. So I always try to step carefully around emotional times like this.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Bob grew up a Wisconsin sports fan, so there's this beautiful synergy here for us. I think that's part of this. I made a joke on Dallas radio last week about Nico Harrison negotiating this trade, and you'll never believe this, Bob. No one in the studio laughed.
It's a sore topic, man. And in both cases, the similarities, like people want to say, well, this isn't like that. And I'm not here to say it's exactly like that. The NBA is its own animal in the sense that one guy can determine happy from sad forever. And we know football isn't like that. Football, you can have a generational player and he can never go to the playoffs. I mean, our friends in Chicago will probably admit, if they're old enough to remember, that Dick Butkus and Gale Sayers never played in a single playoff game, and that's hard for us to fathom, because you could argue that both of them are amongst the greats on their side of the ball.
Joe Thomas has been on the show a bunch.
Joe Thomas is a great example. I mean, there's so many. I don't believe in the rings culture in football, but there is something about the 30 years in the wilderness of the Dallas Cowboys that have caused a massive portion of their fan base to kind of turn on every superstar they've had during that time. And so whether it's Tony Romo or Dak Prescott, if you consider him a superstar, or Des Bryant or DeMarcus Ware or Jason Witten, or just go down the line, that if they have the stink on them of the Cowboys desert, then they aren't that great. They aren't as great as Randy White and Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson and those boys who knew how to win. And so it's all part of the culture, right? But I do think, to circle back, and I didn't mean to meander there on your question, but I would just say an important element here, Peter, is in the case of Luka and Micah, I do think the organizations got tired of dealing with what comes with the dinner.
Yeah.
And so I just think that we are required to at least tell the part of the story where those inside the organization and even the teammates aren't necessarily that devastated that we're not dealing with it anymore. Now, at the same time, that's coping and spin control. So I want to at least tell you both sides of the story.
Yeah, they did try to sign him.
Yes, and they tried to sign him, absolutely. And I will also tell you that a lot of people inside the Cowboys organization were just like, do not try to sign him, because if we give him 10 times the money we've given him now, he's going to be even more impossible to deal with. So it's not breaking the law. It's not running from the cops. It's not any of that. It's just there's some extra to Micah Parsons. And I might say, Peter, in the Cowboys circus tent biosphere, guys who are extra, i.e. Des Bryant and Micah Parsons, it's sort of a force multiplier, where if they're extra in normal situations, they're extra in this situation. And so we probably
that was what I wanted to ask, Bob, because like, If Micah Parsons were on those 90s Cowboys team, would it even register?
No, that's the irony of it all, right? Because Netflix will tell us that extra is part of the brand. And so, again, winning cures cancer, winning smooths over everything.
Yeah.
And when you don't win, then people want to know, what did you do in the playoff game to help us? So you're right. It's particularly rich that now Michael Irvin is an old wise sage who explains to us young lads what winning's all about.
Oh my God!
But such is life when you wrap yourself in tangles for 30 years of disappointment.
Yeah, look, I think that the Packers knew, at least to a point, what they were signing up for. Like, it's not a secret. Micah's got a big personality. He's got the podcast. But Rasheed Walker on the team, one of his close friends, Jordan Love, a friend of his as well. They don't just share an agent. Sometimes I think we overvalue the like, oh, they share an agent. Like,
Right.
that doesn't mean we're friends. That doesn't mean I know you. That doesn't mean I want to play with you. But it seems like Jordan Love and Micah Parsons were friends off the field as well. And, the joke around here is that Jordan Love has now recruited more All-Pros to come play in Green Bay than Aaron Rodgers ever did. A bit that I'm absolutely going to lean into here, given my brand and all of that. But there has been this conversation then about, okay, the nerds will say, this is a nerd speaking, that
Sure.
2 first-round picks and a player, that's just too much to give up for a defensive player. And my counter to that would be, we've never seen a player like this moved like this. And I don't know that you can name many quarterbacks that if you called the Cowboys and said, we'll give you this guy straight up for Micah Parsons a year ago before this mess, that they would have said yes to. Like, is that list more than like 7 or 8 guys? Probably not, right?
No. And let me just say, as somebody who was on the air when this trade happened in Dallas, talking about the Cowboys to Cowboys.
Oh,
fans,
that must have just been a gift to be on the air.
I will just say, I mean, look, this is a heist from my standpoint. I like if anyone is saying that the Packers paid too much, they're absolutely wrong. The Cowboys got too little. I've watched every second of this guy's career, and there's almost nothing like him. Yes, I will concede that the Cowboys didn't run the world while he was here, but for those 4 years, and now we can bookmark it both before and after on what the Cowboys defense was before Micah and after Micah and in between. And they led the NFL in quarterback pressure. They led the NFL in takeaways. There's a game in Minnesota that Cowboy fans remember like the back of their hand, because they went up there, and I want to say the Vikings were like 8-1 or 9-1 or something like that, and the Cowboys went up there and killed them like 40-3 or something.
Oh, I remember.
And in that game, Kirk Cousins was terrified of Micah Parsons to a point where he aborted several plays, like just to not get killed again. And the terror in an NFL quarterback's eyes are not often seen. These guys are used to danger. They're used to being hit. They're used to death-defying, because that's what they do for a living. And to see Cousins fold up that day at home because Micah Parsons was all over him over and over and over again was just shocking to me. And so he does these types of things. I've never seen anything like him. I certainly doubted the pick out of Penn State because he was not a pass rusher out of Penn State. Dan Quinn saw something in him and set him loose. And the with and without you stats, as any football nerd is certainly aware of, are mind-boggling. That the Cowboys are the number 1 defense by DVOA or
I think it's EPA per play, and they're 30. They're first with him on and 32nd with him off.
Yes, and it's real. It's a real thing, and so I do have questions the fit in Green Bay, just from a standpoint of Packer fan syndrome of watching teams just gash the team between the tackles over the years. I know it got better last year, but I certainly have questions about whether this team can give up at defensive tackle and just be fine with vibes and Nazir Stackhouse and things of that nature. But I do think the opportunity to get Micah Parsons is so far-fetched, and then to get him for what might be the 25th pick or the 27th pick 2 times over, and a guy that probably wasn't going to be back after 2025, there are very few no-brainers, except maybe Anthony Davis and Max Christie for Luka Doncic. So I don't understand this, but I also realize that it's Jerry Jones getting mad, and that's a guy who claims he doesn't get mad. So I would beg to differ on this trade.
More to come with Bob Sturm here on Locked On Packers. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. The NFL season is right around the corner and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. If you haven't joined the league yet, now's the time. And it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran creating your millionth league. With season about to kick off, September 4th, we are just 2 days away. Now is the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football, which offers so many fun ways to compete. Want more ways to play? Try the brand new Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine League mode where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated weekly until one team is left standing. Want to play instantly with friends? Try the new Draft with Friends mode. Prefer the classics? Get your crew together and go head-to-head in a private league. No crew, no problem. Join a public league, the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. It felt like Jerry Jones letting emotion get in the way of good business. It really did. And that's not anything new for Jerry Jones. That's what happened with the Dak Prescott negotiations. He likes the drama, and sometimes that leads him to pay more money. And I think he's just sort of like, I don't care. Because it's all the difference between giving Dak 60 a year versus 55 to him. That's a rounding error for Jerry Jones. Yeah. I mean, in the grand scheme of things for him. So maybe it is worth it in some of those cases. Certainly bit him in the ass on this one. You mentioned the run defense thing. The Packers are going to have to figure that out quick, fast, and in a hurry because they get one of the most physically imposing run teams in the NFL in week 1. I wrote about this. We talked about it yesterday on the show. Is this just like worrying about tackling with Deion Sanders, or like is this in the aggregate something that Packer fans have to worry about?
Well, I mean, first of all, Micah Parsons is at worst a league average run defender. So let's this idea.
It's not like he's terrible.
Right. The narrative is way out of control that he can't be on the field or something like that. No,
that's just Bears fans and Vikings fans saying that, Bob. No one else.
Well, if you run away from Micah Parsons, he will run you down. If you run at him, he will look like he's 245 pounds. Now he's the strongest 245 pounder you've ever seen.
He sure is.
And you know, the way he bull rushes or hip tosses Mike McGlinchey or all the things. I mean, I've seen him do incredible feats of strength that a guy 275 normally can't do. So Parsons does not lack for power or emotional fortitude to stand in there. You know, he's a competitor. And he doesn't like to lose. So there's a lot to that. Now, going back to Dan Campbell and the way the Lions do business and what makes Micah great and also what can neutralize Micah, well, it's pretty clear. If you're playing with the lead against Micah Parsons, you have a chance. And if you're playing from behind, you have no chance. And those are, you know, that probably, you know, Matt LaFleur is going to have to put that into his game theory a little bit and bake it into the recipe of how to build a game plan, because, you know, like any third down, like Von Miller in Denver, or like any of these guys, you know, if you are chasing them in the fourth quarter, you are playing right into their hands, and you probably will not have any chance. And if Rashawn Gary's your second best pass rusher, that's insane. So there's a lot to like about, you know, Green Bay up 4 with 2 minutes to play. They should be in pretty good shape to close things out, a la Reggie White back in the day with Sean Jones on the other side and just kind of feeding that way. So you know, I mean, that's Micah. That's his game.
You meant Gilbert Brown, though, Bob.
Yeah, well, that's, you know, so that's the thing is you know, is Devontae Wyatt about to break out? Is, you know, are there, you know, obviously Edgerrin Cooper's insane, and that, you know, honestly, if I may circle back, and I put this on Twitter, so you might have seen this already, but I just from a guy who intimately knows both franchises like I do, you know, the trade caught me off guard, because Jerry Jones never sends a good player away. If you go back 30 years, And no, he didn't have anything to do with Herschel Walker, despite what Netflix would have you to believe. But basically, since Herschel Walker, they're not sending a single good player in his mid-20s away. So this is so against Jerry Jones' DNA. Also, it's so against the Green Bay Packers DNA, and I know they have been quick to say we've been building towards this moment for Goody to cook, but I'm not sure it was ever going to get here, and I certainly appreciate the Charles Woodson bold strike, but for the most part, it's been a lot of talk and not a lot of seize the day. Let's go all in on this hand from the Green Bay Packers, all the way to Randy Moss and beyond. So you look at all these things and you say, okay, it's not in the Packers DNA, it's not in the Cowboys DNA for this deal to happen, and yet it still goes down like that. And so yeah, I was pretty shocked on both sides, and so to see Green Bay say, we're close enough, let's do something crazy here. That's obviously enough to make you, sit up in your chair and say that, okay, they think they're close, they think the time is right, they think their window's open. From a Cowboys standpoint, I would concede at least that I would never trade Micah Parsons, but once you do Dak and once you do CD, then you feel pot committed, and so
then you really can't trade Micah Parsons.
That's kind of where I'm at, and that's why I never prepared for this moment. I never really took it seriously. Maybe I'm too close, but it just, all the writing on the wall said, okay, well, they think they're all in. Now, they're probably not in a division with the Eagles and even now the Commanders, but them thinking they are is a different animal. So, there's a lot to it, but Micah Parsons means get the lead, and that means close games. And so, as you know, I may meander a time or two on these answers, but I just think
look, there's a lot to say here, and I think that's part of the reason for this. And you go back to last year, they had a chance to stop the Lions in Detroit, to give the ball back to Jordan Love to go win that game. They had a chance against the Vikings to get one stop late, to give the ball back to Jordan Love to go win that game. And in both cases, the defense could not get a stop. Right. And this defense was improved last year. All the numbers, I think, tell you that. You watch them, they look like a different team. And yet in those big moments, I think you still need star players to come through for you and to get that one play. It's 3rd and 8. Go make something happen. Keyshawn Nixon against Amon-Ra St. Brown. If Jared Goff has half a second left to make that throw at the end of that game, maybe he doesn't make it, and maybe the Packers have a chance to win. That's what I think they're hoping for here. They think like I don't think they ever thought in their wildest dreams in March Micah Parsons was going to be the guy. They were hoping, hey, maybe you can find a 1st-round pass rusher, or maybe, Josh Sweat costs less in free agency than you think. I was surprised that they didn't do anything with the pass rush in the offseason. I don't think if you put Brian Gutekunst on a lie detector, he would have told you in March when they got, Nate Hobbs and Aaron Banks that, hey, we think maybe the best defensive player in the game is going to be on our team in 6 months. Like, I find that very hard to believe that would be the case. How much though?
I'm sorry,
given,
Peter.
Given your perspective on the NFC East, the Eagles you see twice a year, the Commanders you see twice a year. You saw them last year. How much do you think this closes the gap for the Packers between the Lions and the Eagles? Because that's really all that matters here, right? Is going and winning the conference. That's what this move is for. It's to go win Super Bowls. And Brian Gutekunst said the urgency is there. So how much does this close the gap for the Packers?
Well, I think we would know that based on their standing in the North, because I do think the Eagles are the best team. I don't think the Commanders are the second best team in the conference, and I applaud their 2024. But there's like 5 different reasons regression feels obvious for the Commanders, at least from where I sit.
87% on 4th down. Let's start there.
Yeah, well, I mean, also they're kind of building around 32-year-olds. They're going to have the toughest schedule in the league. They were 8-1 in close games. I mean, we can go all day on how the Commanders should be. Oh, they played like 10 backup quarterbacks last year.
That's right.
You just go down the list with the Commanders, and look, they're in a wonderful place. Their fans should be fired up. They're better than they've been, but I feel like we're getting awful carried away because of a Saturday night at Ford Field. And I still will say the Lions are probably the second best team in the NFC. And if Green Bay wants to fire a bold strike in week 1 to make me question that, I'm here for it, but I'll need to see
Obviously.
it because the Lions, the Lions are, I mean, they're really what
They're really good.
the NFC powers are all about to me, and what has cost the Packers and the Cowboys, frankly, over this last decade or so, is that they just haven't been able to deal with the 49ers in the trenches and the Lions in the trenches, and now the Eagles in the trenches. I mean, I would argue to you that Jordan Mailata and Jalen Carter are the two offensive and defensive linemen that I would build around, and then, Penei Sewell's not a bad bit. Trent Williams and Nick Bosa are wonderful. And so for the Packers or Cowboys to be in this mix, the Packers have tried, well, here's Kenny Clark and Elton Jenkins. Okay, fine. I mean, it's not quite up to snuff. And so, Aaron Rodgers takes the hit with Devontae Adams on all the shouty shows, if you will. But I think this is a league that has turned really physical, at least in the NFC. And I think maybe that's where it's always been. Back to Vince Lombardi. I mean, it's all good, but so that's why, as I see the Packers loading up in the trenches more and more, and saying, hey, we got to protect the quarterback, we got to run the ball, we got to get pressure on the quarterback. I feel like they're digging in the right place now. And so as the Packers measure against the Lions, that to me is the true test. I mean, the Vikings are formidable. I just they don't scare me in the trenches the same way.
Still more to come with Bob Sturm on Locked On Packers. The NFL season is almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet $5, and if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. How about the Packers? 2.5-point favorites against the Detroit Lions on Sunday. That would be fun. And the games that you don't care about, not Packers games. Having a little money down makes the games more exciting. Whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, it's quick and easy and the best way to add a little energy to your Sunday. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Hey, Locked On Packers fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with the free Upside app. Simply download the Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN and get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first fill up. You could make up to $300 a year just from buying the gas you already needed. At first, I thought this was too good to be true, but it is totally legit. Plus, you can get your cash anytime. Bank account, PayPal, e-gift card for Amazon, other brands. Don't let this offer drive on by. Download the free Upside app now by using my limited time promo code TOUCHDOWN for 25 cents per gallon bonus. That's promo code TOUCHDOWN. Offers vary by user and location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. If you look around the NFC, I think you can make the case best coach quarterback combo is in Green Bay. Mm-hmm. The Eagles just are deeper. The Lions are deeper, more top end talent. Micah Parsons is a way to try and change that. And to your point about this is not what the Packers do. Two huge things this offseason that the Packers never do. First round receiver and like league altering trade. They don't do either of those things.
No.
And And I think that tells you where they feel. I want to end on that, Bob, because I saw some, Courtney Cronin at ESPN, who covered the Vikings and now the Bears. She said that she believed this was because of pressure on Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst. Whether or not that's true, I don't know that I buy that part of it. There's certainly pressure now. So you make this move, whether you felt the pressure before, you feel it now. This is much more like 2020 and 2021 for the Packers, where this is, you better go compete for a Super Bowl or it will be considered a wild disappointment. And that's what they've invited. And I think in some ways that is a sign of a team hungry to go do this, rather than, I think in 2020 and 2021, they operated a little bit out of a place of fear, going, man, I don't know how many chances we're going to get with Aaron Rodgers. Like, I felt like that was more the way it was. Matt LaFleur still finding his footing. This is a, we're ready. Let's go do it. That's my perspective anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And I think, Micah puts them in a tremendous spot to do that sort of thing. He's unbelievable. I've had enough people tell me that it's difficult for him to sit, here's the bottom line. If you're going to pay Micah Parsons as the Cowboys, you have to believe he's the front of, the brand, and that he is the guy that everybody in the room will follow. And I do think changing locations changes the math on that. I do think, the Packers probably hope he's a team leader, but they weren't buying that. They weren't shopping for that. And they didn't really feel like they needed that, because they've kind of built their own culture, and hopefully it's stronger. It's certainly not as distracting as life in Dallas Cowboys world, where you're not even sure the head coach is the head coach, and you're not, it's the reality. It is life with the Jones boys, and the Packers have a much different world. And so they are banking that their culture has been built, and now Micah will walk in and want to be part of that difference, and kind of almost feel like he's back at Penn State as he's part of a program and all that. And honestly, having seen Luka and seen Steve Nash and all these athletes over the years get rocked by switching teams in the middle of their career, and then sort of say, okay, I have a chance to reinvent myself and my reputation, and let me do all of this, and let me maybe be on my best behavior for the kind of ex-wife thing, where you're best shape of my life, the whole, there's a lot to it. So he's been immature, but I do think the culture fostered that, almost like the culture of the Mavericks. From the second Luka got there, it was, let us not anger the boy king so that he ever wants to leave us. And so he was never wrong about anything, never challenged on anything. Nobody looks him directly in the eye. So
people got mad when Haralabos Voulgaris pointed a lot of that stuff out in Dallas.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. And with Micah, it was they were frustrated because he never became the man leader they wanted him to be, to set the culture, to be the, Fletcher Cox, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, leadership, veteran leadership that the Eagles had. Like, how come this guy isn't DeMarcus Ware? Well, you kind of made him that way. And then, they got mad about the podcast. There's a million things here, and I know you want to wrap this up. But the point to all of this is I do think there's a really good chance that the Reggie White, Micah Parsons comps aren't that crazy, that he is the pass rush guy to come in there. And obviously he's never going to be a minister, but he might be that guy who joins a already existing homegrown culture and fits right in and becomes, a really solid part of the story. Obviously I have a divided brain, because on one hand, I'm definitely sad to see him go. But then from the cheesehead side of me, I'm like, I can't believe he was available. So there's a devil, an angel, or I don't know, cowboy and cheesehead on my two shoulders. I don't know what's going on, but
I think cheesehead fans would say you said it right the first time.
This has been a weird 5 days for me, Peter, for sure.
Yeah, well, it's only going to get weirder, because once we see Micah Parsons on the field in number 1, a number that they have not given out since the guy they named the stadium after
Yes.
was no longer a part of the organization is pretty wild. But who knows? Maybe they will get to officially retire number one in 10, 15 years. We'll see. Bob, I appreciate the time as always, man, and keep those divided feelings. We appreciate it here in Cheesehead Land.
Anytime, Peter. Thank you.
All right, thanks to Bob for joining the show. Great to talk with him. We're back tomorrow. We've got Lily's out tomorrow. Zayu Duin, the first of 2025. Then Matt Derry on Thursday. Then Cody Alexander from Match Quarters, our defensive guru. He's here to talk about Micah Parsons' usage. He's here to talk about Detroit Lions, trying to stop that Detroit team. We've got a loaded show this week, folks. We're having a lot of fun here on Locked On Packers. That's what we always do, get you ready for week one like no one else can. Follow me on the social medias, Peter_Bukowski on Twitter, on Instagram. Follow the podcast wherever you get podcasts. We're also on, of course, all the social medias. But subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts. And over on our YouTube page, you can watch us. We'll be live after the game on Sunday, Locked On Packers Live, then the Locked On Packers Squad Show Live, so you can stay Locked On Packers.